Yo, what is going on YouTube? This is your boy Dan, aka aDrive, and I am bringing you a quick video talking about the St. Louis Rampardos, my team for the GBA. You might be like, aDrive, Dan, what is the GBA? What are you talking about, dude? Well, let me tell you guys, if you didn't know, I am a part of the GBA, which is a global battle association. There's a lot of cool members in it, like Shitty Penguin, Nexus, Magnitude, Swagalib, lots of awesome competitive battlers. And basically what it is kind of like a fantasy league in a way that you draft your teams, you lock them into contracts for a different amount of time, for a couple of years or seasons, I guess. And each week you have a matchup against someone else in the league. There's 4 divisions, two what do you call it? Conferences, I guess you could say, and you play it out once a week, and we're going to be posting the videos to the GBA channel, to our personal YouTubes, and all sorts of cool stuff. So I was one of the 4 expansion teams that kind of came into the GBA this year. I was asked to join, and you can see on the screen the St. Louis Rampardos is my team. I thought of the team name. Looks like I wasn't the first person to ever think of it, but I did think of the team name, and then my homie Streamline actually made the amazing logo, so props to him. I think it looks pretty rad. So I'm going to just quickly run through my team. Really important, guys. There is a link in the description to an interview I did with the GBA, and you guys can go check that out and kind of get a better, more deep perspective on my team and all that good stuff. But I just kind of wanted to run through the team I have. So my first round pick in the expansion draft, now keep in mind a lot of the Pokemon were not available, so it wasn't like I had a full pool of Pokemon, but I feel like I ended up pretty good. I picked Latios as my first pick. The reason why, can run Defog, which I think is pretty crucial for any hazards. It also can be very versatile in terms of running a Life Orb set, Scarfed, Specs. I mean, you could really do a lot with Latios, including defensive sets if you really want to get funky. And one of the things that I want to point out is I have 11 Pokemon on my team. Every team has 11 Pokemon, and it's very interesting, and it's a very interesting competitive situation because you know what 11 Pokemon your opponent has, and you have to kind of predict which of those 6, or which 6 out of the 11 they're actually going to bring. So Pokemon like Latios, in my opinion, turn out to be very useful, or could turn out to be very useful, because it's very versatile, which is kind of like the theme of my draft picks. I wanted to pick Pokemon that I felt could be very versatile. So my second pick was none other than Garchomp. So I was like, alright, I got Garchomp here. Garchomp is another versatile beast. You can run special, physical. You can even run defensive if you wanted to. If you really max out its HP and defense EVs, you can have it tank some hits every once in a while. But you notice I have 2 Ice Weeks at this point. I picked Latios and Garchomp, so that kind of put me in a bad situation. But that's why my third pick was actually Registeel. I picked up Registeel, which probably wouldn't have gone until later in the game, but I felt like I needed something that could take some Fairy-type hits and can also take some Ice-type hits and hit both back. So Registeel was the perfect pick on what was available on the board for me to take. Then, my fourth pick overall was none other than Ninetales. Ninetales is a really cool Pokemon in the fact that it gets access to Sun. Sun and Rain and Sand are the weather teams in higher competitive tiers can really make or break a battle, and they really change the whole pace. And I force my opponent every week to kind of prepare for the potential that I have this pseudo Sun team going on here now that I have this Ninetales. So I felt like Ninetales was a good pick, and looking at the board, I felt that if I could snag Ninetales and then I could snag Venusaur, I'd be in excellent shape. So that's exactly what I did. I picked Venusaur. Like I said, I was drafting with the other 4 expansion teams, so it didn't look like anyone else had a real good fit for Venusaur on their team. So I felt like it was okay to draft Ninetales, hold out a few picks, and then grab Venusaur on my 6th pick, I believe. So I snagged Venusaur. So now you see the makings of this kind of half Sun team going on here, and I feel pretty good about it. The next pick was actually the big fat flink pink blob, I can't even say it, Blissey. I've actually never used Blissey in competitive, but it was on the board, and I know Chansey's typically looked at as being superior, but I felt like it was one of those Pokemon that I force my opponent to prepare for every week. They have to start running sets with mixed attacks. If they have a special attacker, they're really going to have to run a physical move on it, otherwise my Blissey is just going to destroy them. They don't stand a chance. Like Focus Blast don't do anything to this thing. It is such a monster. So I felt like it was such a good Pokemon for me to pick up, not only to provide a good special wall, it's one of the better special walls in the game, but also to give me, force my opponent to prepare for it, even if I don't bring it every week. So I thought that was kind of cool. My next pick was Espeon. I thought Espeon's a really cool Pokemon. The fact that it gets Magic Bounce, it kind of keeps my opponent from being able to set up entry hazards, which I felt was going to be crucial if the team ended up playing out the way I wanted it to. I felt like Stealth Rocks could be kind of harmful to my team. I do have Latios to kind of help me out here, but there weren't any real good spinners on the board at the time. Excadrill had been taken a few rounds prior, which was one of the Pokemon I really wanted. But, so I figured Espeon was a good way to go about that. Like, you know, it gives me a pretty good special attacking psychic type. I mean, I think it's got 130 base power, special attack 110, base power speed, so Espeon's not anything to joke about. Not to mention an amazing ability, the opportunity to set up dual screens with pretty quick attack. I mean, pretty quick speed. So Espeon's a pretty versatile Pokemon as well. Like I said, I mean, it lacks a little bit on the physical end of defense, but a Reflect can change the game on that one. So I felt pretty good with my Espeon pick. Then my next pick, I picked up Chestnut. And Chestnut, I never would have thought would go this late in the game, because Chestnut's another one of those Pokemon that I thought was very versatile. The fact that it gets Spiky Shield, it can be very defensive. There's just a lot of options with Chestnut, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so many sets you can run with spikes, and you can even run an offensive set. I mean, Fighting and Grass aren't terrible types. I mean, you see Breloom does quite a bit of work, so Chestnut doesn't have Spore or anything, but it can be a Subseeder. It can do a lot of different things, and it gives me a pretty good physical defensive presence to kind of go along with Blissey. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a great defensive core, but those two and Registeel kind of gave me some sort of rounding and gave me an opportunity to have like a pretty beast defensive core. Not to mention, I mean, Venusaur in the sun is a beast, but Venusaur not in the sun is still a beast. So lots of opportunities there to kind of work around that. So at this point in the draft, I know you guys don't know what was available and all that stuff, but I ended up going with Chloritza. I wanted a water-type Pokemon that was bulky, but there wasn't really anything left on the board that I was too happy with. So I went with Chloritza because I felt like it could be pretty versatile in the sense that you know it's going to be like special attacking. It's not like a surprise, but it can also run like a Scarf set and with like U-turn and stuff. And it hits pretty hard, so you could also run like an Assault Vest, and with the proper Calyx, Chloritza could actually be a pretty good mon. Just the fact that it's got that high special attack stat with a really cool unique ability, Mega Launcher, making its Water Pulses do a lot, Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, like lots of cool moves that are going to just do a lot of damage, and can really take down some threats. Anything that's not physically offensive is going to really take a hit from Chloritza. And then my last pick, I was blown away that this thing was still on the board. I ended up drafting Cloyster. And if you guys like are familiar with OU, I'm not that familiar, but a really standard OU team kind of uses a Pokemon like Mamoswine to kind of combat a lot of threats and hold it down. And there obviously there's no Mamoswine on the board, so I went with Cloyster because I felt like Cloyster could do a number of different things, including act as a defensive wall for one. Obviously, you can run a Choice Scarf Cloyster and use Icicle Spear and things like that and just destroy. You can run a Shell Smash set with Focus Sash if you wanted to, which can sweep an entire team. You can run Toxic Spikes and run like I said, a defensive set, and you can also use it as a Rapid Spinner. So I mean, those are just some of the ideas that I've had, and when I saw Cloyster on the board, I really couldn't pass up this great pick, this great opportunity here. So that's what I went with. I went with Cloyster, and that rounds out my 10 picks. So the way it worked is you had your 10 picks, and then you know, you enter the Mega Draft, and everyone entered the Mega Draft at the same time. You know, because the Megas are only on 1 season contracts, so you don't get to hold them for too long. Whereas like my Latios, my Garchomp are on 3-year contracts, whereas some of my other guys are on 2- and 1-year contracts. So that's also kind of played into my decision making. But my Mega pick was none other than Mega Charizard, as you guys can see. I wanted to. That was my goal. I ended up having the 6th or 8th Mega pick overall, and I felt like I'd be able to get to Charizard. If I didn't get Mega Charizard, I was looking at Pokemon like Mega Houndoom and Mega Gardevoir, and there was a couple other Pokemon that kind of made sense. And my goal was with this Sun team is to kind of force my opponent to prepare for a Sun team every week. And if I don't bring it, then they're prepared for something that they don't have to worry about, or it's not going to actually be there. And if I do bring it, I'm going to bring the Fury, because not only do I have a Ninetales, but I also have a Mega Charizard Y, I have a Venusaur, I have a Cloyster. I have some Pokemon that really kind of work well in the Sun, in my opinion. And I think that I've ended up drafting like a pretty good team. I like the team I have, and I think we're moving along. I think I have a pretty good chance to, you know, make a decent splash here in the GBA. So anyway, like I said, guys, the full interview is in the description. Be sure to check that out, and make sure you go subscribe to the GBA channel. There's gonna be a lot of videos, like I said, every week. It starts up on the 25th. It's gonna be the first week of matches, and I already have my first match set up, so I started preparing for that before my vacation. I just got back. I decided I'd throw this video up. But, so I'm super excited. Let me know your thoughts on my team below. If you have any cool ideas or cool sets for me you want me to try to incorporate, I'm more than willing to do so. I think there's a lot of cool opportunities with this team. Like I said, whether I go Sun Team or whether I don't go Sun Team, like, you know, one week I could bring like Mega Charizard, Venusaur, Latios, Cloyster, and Blissey, bam, and then next week I'm like, yo, forget that, I got Latios, Garchomp, Registeel, Cloyster, Espeon, and Cloyster, and it's like, whoa, like, totally changing it up, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of opportunities here. So anyway, that's the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a thumbs up rating. This has been your boy aDrive. I will catch you guys later. Peace.